Years of work has paid off for Lakeland College in a partnership with the University of Saskatchewan. Nursing students at Lakeland in Lloydminster can now complete their Bachelor of Nursing degree in Lloydminster instead of having to transfer to the U of S.
It's been a long time coming, and we have something great to celebrate.
That from the president and CEO of Lakeland College, Alice Wainwright Stewart, in making the announcement. At a time of a nursing shortage, she says it's something that's sorely needed.
They've located or they're close to Lloydminster. Some of them have children. So they wouldn't have been able to go to Saskatoon. They've already said they wouldn't be able to do that. So they would probably choose something lesser than what they wanted to. Their dreams with nursing. We need nurses. We need nurses on both sides of, well, on all sides of our country, we need nurses. So it is amazing that we have this opportunity.
It will benefit nursing students like Cassandra Serena.
It's really beneficial. I didn't have to move too far. I'm from the Vermilion area, so I was able to stay close to my family and my friends and complete my degree program at the same time.
According to Selena Richter, the Dean of the College of Nursing at the U of S, expanding the program at Lakeland College fulfills a long-time goal.
Absolutely believe if we can expand to the rural remote areas and give students more access to quality nursing education, that they will stay in the communities where they do their education. And it has actually been proved previously.
Winston Churchill students were lucky to have Lakeland College students come to their school for some fun math activities. In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we see how both groups are benefiting from this annual event.
The Lloyd Public School Division selected Winston Churchill Elementary this year to receive the help of first-year education students at Lakeland College, looking to get more hands-on experience in their field.
This has been going on for quite a few years, actually. It's a wonderful event put on by Lakeland College students. Their first-year teachers learn to become teachers, and so they're offering some wonderful math games, activities, problem-solving, etc. for all our grade 4 students here at the school.
For the fourth graders, they build up their math knowledge, as well as adopt a healthy mentality moving forward.
Learning more stuff and knowing you'll get better at it.
This event is invaluable to the Lakeland College students, pushing them out of their comfort zones and developing essential skills in their chosen fields.
I am learning many ways of how to cope with children and different ways how to teach them different skills and how to help them grow with their math skills. Some of them, they might struggle, so I'll try to help them as much as I can without giving them the answer, and I will teach them skills that I learned when I was in elementary school.
Despite all the learning taking place, some are aware there's still more work to be done.
Multiplication, I kind of bad at it.
And that's all for this week's edition of Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students go beyond the classroom for immersive, hands-on learning experiences. It's about experiencing the real world, because the real world doesn't wait, and neither do we.
And Abby St. John is in with our weather. We had a bit of a scare with some flurries this afternoon that weren't in the forecast. Can you tell us what we're looking at for tonight?
Yes, well, we're expecting overcast tonight, but with that, like you said, that surprise little flurries that we got around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. It may get stronger. It may just completely go away. We have seen it where we've had a little bit of flurries and then it just disappears like nothing ever happened. I'm hoping for that. But currently it is -7, feels closer to -12 with that wind chill. Winds are a little bit slower than what we've seen at 9 kilometers per hour, but it's still quite chilly out that we saw throughout all of today. It was very overcast and very gloomy out and quite chilly, I found. Across the region in Alberta, similar temperatures. -7 in Marwayne, St. Paul and Bonnyville, -9 in Cold Lake, -8 in Lac La Biche, -6 in Vegreville, Vermilion and Wainwright, and Edmonton and Provost are sitting at -5. And then on the Saskatchewan side, -14 up in Isle Cross, -9 in Green Lake, -8 in Pearceland and Maidstone, -10 in Meadow Lake, -7 in St. Walburg and North Battleford, and -6 out in Macklin. overnight tonight in North Battleford will drop down to -17. So it's going to be very chilly out tonight in North Battleford. Partially cloudy skies, so for the most part it should be quite clear, but it will be quite cold. And then tomorrow, partially sunny skies with a high of -7, with that winds coming in at 7 kilometers per hour. It's going to feel a little bit cooler than that with that wind chill, but it should be a nice sunny day out. Overnight tonight in Cold Lake will drop down to -12. Overcast with a flurry or two later on in the evening. So definitely keep a lookout for that. There may be a little bit of snowfall overnight tonight in Cold Lake. And then tomorrow will be a mix of sun and cloud. Not as cold. It's only a daytime high of -4. So it should be a relatively okay day tomorrow. Overnight tonight here in Lloydminster, partially to mostly cloudy skies, similar to what we saw last night, and it will be a low of -12, so it's going to be quite chilly out here as well. And then tomorrow, expect a cloudy day with a high of -4. It's going to be quite chilly out with that cloudy conditions, but the wind speed won't be too bad at 11 kilometers per hour. And then over the next 3 days, a high of -4 and a low of -7 for tomorrow. And then on Friday, we should get a little bit of sun with a mix of sun and cloud with a high of +1 and a low of -4. And then on Saturday, a little bit more sunshine throughout the day with a high of 1 and a low of -9. We have a couple of weather submitted photos. Thank you so much to Bev sending this gorgeous sunset shot of Bud Miller. She sent another one, which I will save for tomorrow, but they are beautiful. And then of course, Greg sending another sunset shot as well from here in the border city. Thank you so much for all the submissions for your weather photos. If you'd like to see your weather photos on our show, please email us at weather@stingray.com. That is the first look at your evening weather forecast. I'll have a more in-depth look later on in the show.
The Lakeland Rustlers men's volleyball team is soaring high as they are on the CCAA national rankings for the first time in program history. They were hoping to keep up their momentum when they took on the Ambrose University Lions. Our Thomas Wildman has more.
After a tight game the night before against the Lethbridge College Kodiaks that the Rustlers won in the 5th set, they once again played host to a southern opponent in the Ambrose Lions. The first set simply got away from the Rustlers as Lions got an early lead and were able to close out the first set 25-15. The second set, the Rustlers were much more competitive with some excellent rallies and kept the game very close. The Lions were able to hold on and close out the second set 25-22. The third set, once again, the Rustlers were competitive, but too many mistakes and the dominance of the Lions led to them completing the 3-set sweep 25-19.
We had some bright spots. I thought we ran our middles real well and had an opportunity to score there. And again, when we come off a really big win last night, we need to be able to prepare ourselves for another opponent tonight. And I don't think we did a very good job of that as far as following our game plan. Guys kind of getting in their own heads when things weren't going their way, and so that's not our team. That's not typically how we react to those types of adversities.
The Rustlers will have their final game before the winter break against the University of Alberta Augustana. Thomas Wildman, Primetime, local news.
And Abby St. John is back in for another look at our weather.
Thanks so much, Leanne. We are sitting currently at -7. Feels closer to -12 with that wind chill. We definitely saw a very gloomy day out today. Quite cold, I found it. The wind's not too strong at only 9 kilometers per hour, but it was still pretty much a bummer of a day without seeing that sun, and that will be the case for tomorrow as well, unfortunately. Current temperatures across the region: -9 out in Cold Lake, -7 in Athabasca, -5 out in Edmonton, -4 in Red Deer and Rocky Mountain House, +2 in Jasper, 1 in Edson, and -2 in Whitecourt. And on the Saskatchewan side, -12 in Meadow Lake, -10 in Prince Albert and Melfort, and -7 in North Battleford and Saskatoon. If we go up north in Saskatchewan, -17 in Uranium City, -16 in Stony Rapids and Wollaston Lake, -13 in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, -15 in South End, and -14 out in Flin Flon. And on the Alberta side, -23 out in Fort Chipewyan. Fort Mac is sitting at -13, -12 in High Level, -8 in Peace River, -4 in Grand Prairie, and -7 out in Slave Lake. And then down south in Alberta, -3 in Medicine Hat, 1 in Lethbridge, 0 in Calgary and Banff, and -5 out in Coordination. And on the Alberta side, -5 also out in Kinnersley, Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and Regina, -7 in Yorkton, and -4 out in Estevan. Overnight tonight in North Battleford, it will drop down to -17. Partially cloudy skies, but it will be quite cold with that very low temperature. Overnight tonight in Cold Lake, it will only be -12, but there's about a 42% chance overnight. Later on, flurry or two overnight tonight in Cold Lake. Across the region, overnight tonight, -18 in Meadow Lake, -11 in Bonnyville, -10 in Provost, -22 in Isla Crosse, and -15 out in Paradise Hill. All those regions staying fairly cloudy, a little bit less cloud coverage in Isla Crosse, Paradise Hill, and in Meadow Lake, but it will be quite chilly out in all those areas. More temperatures across the region overnight tonight: -10 in Myrna, -14 in Pierceland, -13 in Unity, -11 in Wainwright, and -4 out in Calgary. Now there's about an 80% chance of some snow overnight tonight in Calgary, but for the most part, the rest of the region just sitting quite cloudy overnight. Overnight tonight here in Lloydminster will drop down to -12, partially to mostly cloudy skies, so there'll be a little bit of tapering off with the clouds, but for the most part, it's going to be quite cloudy. And then over the next 7 days, a high of -4 and a low of -7 for tomorrow, and expect cloudy conditions like we saw today. And then on Friday, we might actually have some sun peeking through those clouds with a high of +1 and a low of -4. +1 is also the high on Saturday with a low of -9 and a little bit more sun coverage as well, but it will be quite windy. On Sunday, there's about a 60% chance of some snowfall in the morning with a high of -3 and a low of -10. On Monday, expect some low clouds and breeziness with a high of -1 and a low of -2. On Tuesday, we get that sun back with a high of +2 and a low of -5. And then it should be bright and sunny on Wednesday next week with a high of +1 and a low of -10. That is a look at your evening weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
It's time again for another episode of Healthy Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie Dobson is here. Stephanie is a collaborative lawyer, mediator, and educator with offices through Hankin Divorce Law and Mediation in Lloydminster and Edmonton. So Stephanie, we're going to continue our conversation from last week, but first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thanks again for having me, Stacey.
Okay, so for those who didn't know, we've been talking about employment pension plans. So let's just do a little bit of a wrap from what we did last week to kind of freshen up the viewers who may not have seen that episode.
Sure. So there's two different kinds of employment pensions that we covered last week. So what we're not talking about yet, which we're going to cover in a future episode, is Canada Pension Plan. So we're actually talking about employment pensions, which there's two kinds. So the first one is called defined benefit pension plan, and this is the formula-based pension plan that we talked about last time. And then there's the defined contribution pension plan, which is more like an RRSP, where there's contributions made by a person during their employment and then interest earned. So we talked about how to value those pensions and how much more complex it is to value the defined benefit formula-based pension plan, and the importance of getting what's called a pension value estimate straight from the pension administrator.
Okay, and once they have received that, what's the next step, Stephanie?
So when you receive that, well, there's different names for this document that you get from the pension administrator, but basically a statement of pension division on breakdown of relationship. There will actually be a value on the form when you receive it. So it might be called total entitlement, or it might be commuted value, or a variety of other wording. But basically, the number on the form is not necessarily an exact value of the pension. It's the pension administrator's estimate based on their own set of criteria and assumptions. So it's meant to just be that, just an assumption. It's not has nothing to do with the individual member's circumstances. So I highly recommend, when there's that defined benefit formula-based pension plan, that they get a pension actuary involved in providing an opinion on the actual value of the pension based on the member's circumstances. And that's the most reliable way to determine the pension value when we're talking about that formula-based defined benefit pension plan.
Are there any restrictions when you are dividing this up between the spouses?
Well, there's a couple of restrictions that former couples will want to consider. So the first one is the maximum transfer amount that can be transferred from one spouse to another under the applicable legislation. And the second is the way that the pension division can occur. So let's first talk about that maximum transfer issue. So for a defined contribution pension plan, that's the simple one, the one like an RSP. Typically, there's any amount that can be transferred from the member to the spouse. Now, for a defined benefit pension, that's the formula one, it will depend on the legislation under which the member's pension is regulated. So it's anywhere from 50% to 100% that's allowed to be transferred to that member's spouse. So the second limitation may now be how the actual transfer itself occurs. So for the simple defined contribution RRSP type pension plan, typically the spouse receiving the funds will receive a lump sum, which will then be deposited into what's called a LIRA, a locked-in retirement account. And that's a locked-in account that cannot be accessed until certain circumstances apply to that spouse. For a defined benefit pension, that's the formula-based one, it will depend on the pension rules as to how the recipient spouse can receive the funds. So some pensions will allow the member's former spouse to choose between either a lump sum or becoming what's called a limited member of the pension plan, which means that you would actually receive monthly payment from that pension plan directly once the retirement time occurs. So other pensions will have limitations on what might be available. So of course, there's so much involved in pension plan valuations and division. The best thing to do is to get advice as to your specific pension plan and just make sure that you're getting the right information right from the start.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much for digging into that, because there is a lot involved, and obviously pensions are super important to people. So if anybody is looking for more information or to speak with you and dig a little bit deeper, what's the best way to find you, Stephanie?
Sure. So the best way to first look at our services and see if our office might be right for your situation, or to get more information, is to look on our website at Henka Divorce, HENKA divorce.ca. And there's a huge resource section. There's a huge blog section. There's also all of our TV interviews. All of our episodes are also on our website as well. So that's a great first starter for information. You can also, of course, call our office 780-875-2234.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much for joining me once again, and we'll be back to chat with you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery. downtown Lloydminster.
We are here with Texas country artist Drake Milligan, who is going to be making his way through Alberta and Saskatchewan in December. And we're so excited to have him. Drake, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So before we get on talking about your shows throughout Alberta and Saskatchewan, congratulations on your #1 song with the Rec Laws, Honky Tonkin' About. That is so exciting. That must feel so good.
No, thank you. It does. It does. And to have it as my first ever Canadian #1, and to have it with the Rec Laws, who I just think so much about. They're awesome people, awesome entertainers, awesome musicians, and they've been so great to work with on this song. So I'm so thankful that they brought me in on this thing, and now it's #1, baby. Come on, it's great.
Baby, come on. Heck yeah. It's a great song. We love dancing to it around here in the studio in the morning. It definitely wakes us up. So, you are new to Primetime Local News and you are new to some of our listeners and our viewers as well. So, tell us a bit more about yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm from Texas. Been in Nashville for quite a few years. You know, I love traditional country music. That's really where my heart is. I grew up on music like George Jones and Merle Haggard. Uh, and I just love the kind of more traditional style of country music. And that's really all you really need to know about me. There's a lot more out there. I was on America's Got Talent last year. I was a finalist on there, and it's kind of allowed me a little bit of a career now.
That is really cool. Well, I saw that you are 24, but I've been listening to a few of your songs on and off, and I'm like, it's like he's been doing this for 24 years. So for you to have so many influences that are old school country definitely make a lot of sense. So for people who may not have listened to your music, tell us a bit more about your style.
So really my style is really a culmination of my influences, which is, traditional country, on up to 90s country, and as well as one of my heroes is Elvis. I like to bring a lot of kind of his flair and that kind of rock and roll, early rock and roll flair into my thing, into my sound. So it's a little bit of a culmination of all those kind of influences.
That's really cool. And we definitely hear that. So you're going to be bringing your sound through Alberta and Saskatchewan. Now, the closest shows to us are going to be in Edmonton and Saskatoon. And we know that we have a lot of people out of Lloydminster going to those shows, and they're very excited. So tell us a bit more about coming up to Canada. How excited are you? And what kind of shows are we going to get?
Well, me and the band are very excited. I'm bringing the whole band, and you can expect a lot of energy. We love to bring a lot of energy to the stage, and kind of show everybody. We'll play some covers. We'll play some Elvis songs. We'll play some traditional country music. We'll play some '90s country, as well as all of my songs and some brand new ones too that haven't been released. And I want people to leave the show feeling like they really got something out of it and really saw something special.
I was reading some of the comments on your social media, and a lot of people said that you are one of the best performers they've ever seen. So I know everybody going to these shows are going to be in for such a treat. Well, Drake, where can everybody get tickets to your shows?
You can go to drakemilligan.com. All the dates and links to get tickets are on there, as well as links to my music if you want to take a listen and check everything out.
Perfect. Well, Drake, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Is there anything else we want to mention or talk about?
I'm all good. I'm all good. I think we covered it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Drake.
Okay, a farm in the UK has sparked an unlikely new wellness craze called cow cuddling, which allows visitors to snuggle up to the cows, aiming to reduce stress.
And just being cuddled up to the cow like makes you forget all your worries. It's been lovely, really nice experience.
The experience costs about $70 for 3 hours of cuddles. The cattle went through about 5 months of training to get used to being hugged. The farm says they are overwhelmed with the response of the new trend.
I say take all my money 3 hours is not enough?
Well, I'm sure there's probably some local ranchers that would be willing to have you come out, help out on the farm, and you could get more than your few minutes of cuddles in with the cows.
I will. I love cows, and I think this is an adorable trend and very calming. I actually saw a video of a girl who had a pet cow, and just for hugging. And it was just the best, and it made me want to get a cow too.
All right, that's all we have for you tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.